All right, today we're going to tackle a really powerful idea, one that connects AI, biology, and, believe it or not, even the rocks under our feet. This is one of those concepts that once you see it, it might just change how you look at, well, pretty much everything. So let's just dive right in. So let's start with a huge question. What if machine learning, the process that lets an LLM write code, and biological evolution, the thing that created the first cells, what if they aren't just similar? What if they're the exact same process, just running on different stuff? I'm not talking about a metaphor here. I mean the exact same fundamental logic playing out in silicon chips and in carbon-based life. Okay, to unpack all of that, we've got a roadmap. We'll start with a pattern you already know, then we'll get into a law for evolving systems, see it happen in real time, find where the analogy flips, lay out the abstract pattern, and finally dig into why this changes everything. All right, first up, a pattern you know. And we're talking about the mystery of emergence. This is something you've probably heard about, but maybe you've seen it as two totally separate things. So in the AI world, we see this constantly, right? You take a huge language model and you just train it on one simple task, predict the next word. And then, out of nowhere, it can suddenly translate languages, or write poetry, or solve logic puzzles. These are abilities we never explicitly programmed in. Something totally new just emerges. And here's the thing. In biology, it's the exact same pattern. You start with simple chemistry, and with the right conditions, it organizes itself into molecules that can copy themselves. Then those molecules build cells, the cells build bodies and ecosystems, and eventually you get civilizations. See? Again, something new appears that just wasn't there at the start. We usually talk about these two things, AI emergence and life, as if they're completely different. But what if they're not? Okay, so to connect those dots, we're going to need a unifying principle. And it turns out just recently in 2023, a couple of scientists, Wang and Hazen, proposed exactly that. They called it a law of increasing functional information. And the cool part is, it could apply to any evolving system. So what on earth is functional information? Okay, think of it like this. For any system, whether it's a protein folding or a neural network, there are just a staggering number of ways its parts can be arranged. But only a tiny, tiny fraction of those arrangements actually work, do something useful. Functional information is basically the measure of how hard it is to find one of those super rare working configurations. And this is the absolute core of their proposed law. It's basically a simple three-step dance that happens over and over. Step 1, generate lots of different configurations. Step 2, select only the ones that actually work. And step 3, accumulate that information about what worked. Do that enough times, and the system effectively learns, becoming more complex and more capable. Now, this is where it gets really wild. This principle, it seems, goes deeper than life itself. Scientists have shown that the exact same logic applies to how minerals evolve on a planet. Seriously. Over billions of years, Earth's geology was just generating all sorts of different minerals. Only the ones that were stable enough to survive in their environment, well, they stuck around. The planet, in a very real sense, learned how to create an increasingly diverse and complex set of minerals. For pretty much all of human history, evolution was this thing that was just way too slow and messy for us to really watch it happen. The systems were just too opaque. But now we have large neural networks. And with them, we have a front row seat. It's like we can watch evolution happening right inside a box, in real time. Think about what a modern language model is. It starts as billions of adjustable connections, and they're all just set to random noise. Total nonsense. It's this massive, massive space of possibilities. But then, through a feedback process, it's called gradient descent, we just keep nudging those connections little by little in a direction that makes them better at their task. And slowly but surely, out of all that randomness, order and actual function begin to emerge. And when you lay it out like this, the parallel is just stunning. In biology, you have the genome. In machine learning, you have the billions of weights. In biology, you have random mutation. In ML, you have that random initialization. And the brutal feedback of natural selection, that's just a mirror of the clean mathematical feedback of gradient descent. And the result for both? New species and ecosystems on one side, emergent capabilities on the other. It really looks like the same process, doesn't it? Okay, but right here is where the analogy gets a really fascinating and honestly a crucial twist, because there is one absolutely profound difference between how life evolves and how we train an AI. And here it is. With AI training, the feedback loop is external. We design the architecture. We choose the data. We define what success even means, and we run the whole show. But in nature, the feedback loops are all internal. The organisms themselves change the environment, and that, in turn, changes the rules of the game for everyone else. The system literally trains itself. So what this means is that AI training, it's not artificial life. It's more like a small, controlled laboratory demonstration of the very same mechanics that produce life. Life isn't like machine learning. Life is what you get when this generate, select, accumulate process runs completely unchecked for 4 billion years, with only one single ruthless goal: just keep existing. Okay, so let's zoom out. Let's see how all this builds into a universal pattern. If we strip away all the specific details, forget about DNA or silicon or carbon for a second, what's the fundamental recipe? What's the secret sauce for creating complexity and intelligence out of nothing? Well, here it is. You can think of it as a 5-step recipe for emergence. First, you need a network of many components. Second, you need constant change and variety being introduced into that network. Third, you need feedback loops that favor some configurations over others. Fourth, you need a way to remember or accumulate that functional information. And fifth, if you have those first 4 things, then new, higher levels of organization, what we call emergence, are not just possible, they're pretty much inevitable. And seeing this universal pattern, this isn't just some abstract academic idea. This fundamentally reframes how we should think about our relationship with technology, with the natural world, and even with ourselves. First off, LLMs aren't just tools we're building. In a way, they're participants. Every time we train one, we are literally extending the planet's own capacity to store and process functional information. AI isn't something separate from evolution. It's the latest phase of evolution, just running on a new kind of hardware that we happen to invent. Second big takeaway: emergence stops being mysterious. It's not magic, it's basically inevitable. It's just what happens when you combine big networks, lots of variation, and a solid feedback loop. With those ingredients in place, the jump to new, surprising capabilities isn't just possible, it's pretty much a given. And third, this one's a big one. We aren't the goal of evolution. We're not the end point. We are the process itself becoming aware of itself. Human consciousness is what 4 billion years of this relentless accumulation of functional information looks like when it finally wakes up and starts asking questions. And that leads to the final point. The future is being written by this exact same logic, right now. This process didn't stop with us. As we connect our entire global culture to these incredibly powerful AI networks, we're basically putting the engine of emergence on hyperdrive. New complex patterns are forming as we speak in this giant coupled human-AI system. So that's where we're at. For billions of years, you could say the universe has been running on a simple algorithm, just creating more and more complex patterns. And now, that same algorithm has finally produced a pattern, us, that understands the algorithm itself. That has to change the game, right? So the real question is, what happens next?